All right, and we should be live. So, everyone, welcome to the live stream. Welcome to really what exactly is going on right now. We've got quite a bit to talk about in regards to really what's going on. We have Jose here, which is a Category 1 hurricane. And we do have Tropical Storm Norma as well right here, winds of 70 miles an hour, as well as this Tropical Depression out in the Pacific. We'll be talking about all of that today, as well as this Invest and Tropical Depression. All of these are concerns, and we also do have Typhoon Talum out in the West Pacific to talk about as well. So yeah, everyone, welcome to the stream. I hope that everyone will enjoy this. And hopefully everyone just has a good time. So, everyone, welcome. Hopefully this does have something good, some good coverage for you, and hopefully I can continue to cover what exactly is going on. So here's basically where I'm at this time. This is what it's looking like. We have Jose here, which is looking as if it's going to be a problem. If I can turn on Jose. There we go. So here's Hurricane Jose, and if we go to the official forecast with the cone of uncertainty and everything, this is what we're seeing right now, folks. We're seeing that there could be the possibility of a New York strike. And while that does sound worrying, probably because it is a possibility. You can see there, New York within the cone, just on the barrier of the cone, but within the cone, and even if it's just outside, or even all the way out here, this still could bring impacts to New York. I'll be explaining why that is here very, very shortly. So there really is no need to worry at this time. So here's basically what the gist of this is. We have Jose down here, and it's going to be headed up towards New York, and will probably cause some problems, like, for example, flooding. And here's why. Because Jose, while it's out here, is going to rapidly expand in size as it heads up here. So it doesn't matter really how close it is, as long as it's within like 300, 400 miles of New York, it still could have impacts. And that is because of this thing's overall track. Now here's what I'm going to talk about with Jose. I'm going to go, and Hyperfire says, rest in peace, New York. Yes, I don't think it's going to be that kind of catastrophe. Still could be a problem, though. So here's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn everything off here, really, and I'm going to turn on the Futurecast. So bear with me. I'm going to go to the wind gust. I'm going to go to the surface wind gust. Here's Jose. So if I turn this on, here's Jose right here. And we know, obviously, that Jose is headed up towards New England. So let's talk about that. So as the storm does head up, let's see what it's going to do. So look at the size of the winds right now. Pay attention to that. You see where this white is down here? Pay attention to the size of that. Now I'm going to keep that circle there. And I'm going to make you a new circle when it's up near New York at how large it is, just to give you a good size comparison of the wind field that we could be getting here. So here we are now. Look at how much larger that is, folks. That is massive, which means that the area of impact is not going to matter quite as much anymore, because this hurricane is going to be headed up, and it's going to expand, which is just what Sandy did, which is why there were so many problems in New York. And here we are, it's grazing the coast with hurricane force winds. And then here it is weakening down to a tropical storm. Chastity saying, don't get nervous. Alright, I will be sure not to. That's kind of an inside joke. And then, ooh, this is something interesting. I need to tell you about this. What did you use for your channel icon? My channel icon is not made by me. It was actually made in Adobe Illustrator by my stepmom. She does very good artwork, and she's pretty good at this. So now that we've gone over Jose, here's something else that I think we should look at. If I go back, if the Futurecast will work. Come on, Futurecast. I know you can do it. Okay, come on. Okay, there we go. So this right here, this is Tropical Depression 14. And this right here, this is a tropical wave. Now, let's watch those. So you can see Jose moving out, and you can see Tropical Depression 14. And you can see now, this is a new tropical depression. So this is just formed into a tropical depression right here. Now, this is probably now a tropical storm, and this is still a tropical depression, TD14, according to this model. Now well into tropical storm status, and TD14 is continuing to maintain its intensity. And now we do have a hurricane here. This is probably a hurricane at this point. And now we do, it looks like, have tropical storm. This would be Maria, this would be Lee. Now this could become Lee before Maria formed. So this could be Maria, this could be Lee, or this could be Maria, and this could be Lee. We'll just have to see. But as these do continue along, here we are now. This tropical system is not really mattering anymore. But look at this. This hurricane is headed up and in. We can see now tropical storm force winds hitting Puerto Rico, if this model is correct. And watch this. You see those? That's Category 2. That means we have a Category 2 hurricane. Still a Category 2. Maybe even a Category 3 now. Continue to go out. Still a Category 3. Continue to go out. We're still at Category 3. Now Category 2. But look at what we're seeing. We're seeing this going just south and into Hispaniola. That's a problem for these areas especially, because Irma just went up through there. So if we had Irma, and now we have this storm, which could be Maria or Lee. We'll see which one does become a tropical storm first. Look at this. This is showing a landfall. And what this landfall is going to do is rapidly weaken the system. I mean, you can see that here. Now only a tropical storm. Maybe now a hurricane again. Here's where things get interesting. Now it becomes a hurricane again. And it's really starting to ramp up again. There we are now, back up to Category 2. Now we have a powerful Category 2 hurricane. Right where Jose was just about a week ago in this model's time frame. With a much wider wind field. Now we see the system moving up. Category 3 again. How much damage do you think this could inflict, Chastity asks. Well, that depends. We really don't know at this time. If I did have to say a worst case scenario, I'll continue to run the Futurecast. But if I did have to have a very worst case scenario, I would say that this, because it would be coming off of the Cape Verde Islands. Oh, oops. I just messed up there. I just messed this up. How the heck do I fix this? I can fix this. I can fix this. I got this. I got this. Okay. I think I fixed it. Okay, so how much damage do I think this could inflict? Well, if this does come off the Cape Verde Islands, this should probably be a Category 1 here. For some models. This is worst case scenario, obviously. 2 here, maybe even a 4 by here, and this would cause millions of dollars in damage. This could cause devastation to homes, and we could even see a Cat 5 out of this as it does head into this general region right here, which is where Irma was. And so what we could see is as this becomes a Cat 5, this do billions of dollars in damage. which would be very unfortunate because we just got hit by Harvey. We've gotten hit by Irma. And now we could get hit by this system. We could get hit by Jose. And we could get hit by a system that could form down here and strike Florida as well. That would be 5 storms within 2 months. Which would be pretty crazy if we saw all of that activity, but it's not completely out of the question. At this time, at least. But here we are. I'll get the track back up on Jose. There you are with that. And here we are. I mean, look at Jose. Jose is a good-looking hurricane right now. Category 1. You can see here on the forecast track, this will be what it'll be. Still 75 miles an hour. You can see here it's expected to be a tropical storm by the time it gets up to New York, according to the Hurricane Center. But like I said, it doesn't matter if they get hurricane force winds or not. They're still going to be getting tropical storm force winds, because that wind field is going to be around this large. Now, you may think, wow, that's very large. And it is. It's absolutely massive. But here's how big Sandy's was. Okay, not that big, but this big. That was Sandy's size. So, when you really do compare the two, Jose's theoretical size and Sandy's size, you really don't get the full picture. Still, though, this could be a devastating storm, especially if it heads up and does what some models are thinking. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say the slower this moves, the worse it's going to be. Mother Natural is, I'm guessing that's Mother Nature, is punishing us for electing Trump. Well, you know, I mean, I don't think Trump's as bad as a lot of people do. But that is absolutely fine if that's what you think. It's fine. We're Americans. We can express ourselves. But I personally do disagree with that. I mean, I realize it's a joke, but I still do disagree with that joke. But still, that is absolutely fine. I'd say that joke would be funnier if climate change were not a thing. But now, getting on to the next part, here we are with Jose. Jose, though, isn't the only thing that's going on right now. So let's go over to TD14. Here it is now, Tropical Depression 14. You can see here, it's expected to form into a tropical storm before weakening back down. See what Invest 96L is expected to do. Not too much. Here's Invest 96L this time. And here's what I can say. If we turn on the 5-day formation outlook, here, there we go. You see this red area? Well, this red area is where this system could form. And this system is a worrying system. I think this is going to be a tropical depression here very shortly. But the system is concerning because as it does head into here, here's what we're going to see. A rapidly strengthening hurricane in here. This is going to become, as soon as this becomes a tropical depression, bam, it's going to go way up in intensity. And if I go here, I'm going to actually pull up what the models are thinking intensity-wise. And normally they do underestimate intensity. So just keep that in mind as well as you're looking at this. But not all of them. But here's what we're already looking at. This is what we're already looking at. What this is a tropical depression. Not even a tropical depression. We're already seeing, and I guarantee you this is at least going to be a Category 3. Ignore these models down here. This is going to be at least a Category 3. The conditions are favorable. If it will hit Category 5, I don't know. It's not out of the cards right now. It could be another Category 5, which would be crazy, but it is possible. And the possibility of this system really going is what we're doing. Hyperfire asking what program again. I'm not sure which program he's talking about. In the context of what we've been talking about outside of this, I would think he's probably talking about Canva, which is the thing I use to make my thumbnails. Well, that I used to use to make my thumbnails for YouTube videos. But yeah, that's what I use for that. But yeah, there we are. Very worried about the system right here. Very worried. And here, if I go into some scenarios right now for the storm, let's talk about I'm gonna pull up the HWRF, the HWRF, which is a model that I look at. And the reason why is because this model is literally the worst case scenario normally. Normally this shows the worst case scenario possible. So we'll see about that. Here, I'm going to try and zoom out enough to where you can see the whole thing. But here we are now, not even a tropical depression at this point. But it shows it forming up. Here it is now, a tropical storm. Getting rather powerful now. The greens are where tropical storm force winds are. And then when you see purple, that means it's a hurricane. So it shows it being a hurricane not even 3 days from now. So not even 3 days from now, we can expect a hurricane on our hands headed towards the Leeward Islands. And then if we go out, here we are continuing along. This is still less than 3 days out, and we're seeing a Category 2 hurricane. So this is a Category 2 hurricane approaching the Leeward Islands. Make that a 3. This is exactly 3 days from now. And we're seeing a Category 3 hurricane approaching the Leeward Islands. This is very reminiscent of a hurricane that we just had, and that was Irma. But Irma was more intense, and the HWRF predicted something much similar. You can make it now a Category 4 as it heads towards the leewards. Now, like I said, this model likes to do the worst case scenario. So, this is probably the worst that could possibly happen. So here we are now, weakening down to a Category 3. Back up to a 4 as it goes through the Leeward Islands. And now a strong 4. Now it is a Category 5. If this model is correct, which I doubt it will be this strong, we see, well, it could be, but it's doubtful. We could be seeing a massive Category 5 over the Leeward Islands. Now, as we continue down to a 4, back up to a 5. Either way, it's so close that it doesn't really matter. But at this point, we have a Category 5 about to strike Puerto Rico. This is, like I said, the worst case scenario. Let's take a look at the H-Mon. That is for Jose. We don't need Jose right now. We'll be talking more about Jose here shortly. But take a look at 96L, which isn't even a tropical storm yet. Let's look at what it expects. It expects this to be towards the Leeward Islands, still as a tropical depression. So this is very good news if this is what happens. But as soon as it passes the Leeward Islands, it becomes a tropical storm and then a hurricane rapidly. Now, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Hurricane Matthew. So this could pull a Matthew if the H-Mon is correct. Like I said, anything really is on the cards at this point. So if we have the H-Mon showing, this is a Category 2 at this point. Now, up to a 3. We're showing a Category 3 going in between Puerto Rico and Haiti. So once again, we're seeing another scenario where Puerto Rico is going to get impacted. That's some bad news. This is a big story. Now, let's take a look at another model. So if we take a look at this other model, here we are right now. This is currently what it's showing. We see this. And here's what it expects. It expects, within the next 48 hours, to have a weak tropical storm. And it expects it This is the GFS. This is one of the most reliable models on Earth. So this is the second most reliable model on Earth. So this is something you should take into consideration here. This is probably what's most likely going to happen, in my opinion. Although there is another model that's slightly better than it, but I'd still expect what the GFS is saying at this time. But the GFS showing a strong tropical storm, now a hurricane, heading through the Leeward Islands, now back down to a tropical storm, and then we're strengthening right back up to a hurricane. Now we have a Category 2 hurricane near Puerto Rico. Make that still a 2. Now Category 3 approaching Puerto Rico, going south. Now is a Category 3. The 3 then hits and weakens down to a very weak tropical storm. Oh, this is expecting. Before re-strengthening it to a Category 1, and then a 2, and then a 3. And this is as far out as I can go. But this is showing it. Here, if I move it down a little bit, that's North Carolina. So, that's a problem, if that does happen. Now to show you what is a best case scenario. Now this model is a lot of the time wrong, and it's very often wrong. This is 18 hours out. Tropical depression. 24 hours out, tropical storm. So this does make it a tropical storm the earliest. But like I said, this model likes to be a best case scenario. Now it's showing a strong tropical storm. Here's the thing though. If this ever shows a Category 1, I can almost guarantee you it'll be a Cat 5. Because this model is so awful at predicting intensity. It never shows it as anything stronger than a tropical storm. But if it does show a reasonable hurricane, that this has worked with Irma. This worked with Napartak back in 2016 or 15. One of the two. It's worked with every single hurricane I've tracked so far. And here we are now. Category 1. That is some bad news, folks. This model shows a Category 1 right here. And that is really bad news. Because that means that you're probably going to be seeing a Category 5 out of this. Probably. Not a certainty, but probably. So now let's go over to another website. I'm going to show you what the European model thinks. So here's Jose, which I'm not talking about right now, because this could be far worse, and probably will be far worse. Let's take a look at the clouds and rain. So here's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the system developing. Here it is. Let's go over, and here it is now. This is a tropical storm. We've got a tropical storm headed in to the leewards. A weaker tropical storm at that, according to this. And it shows this thing remaining weak until it passes the leewards, and now it's showing a much stronger tropical storm. Now, this is the most reliable model in the world, so you can take this quite seriously. Both winds of 50 miles an hour or so right here. Now, I honestly think it'll get stronger than that. If we start to see some red, which I do, there we are now. The winds over at least 70. Those are around there somewhere. But here we are now. This shows into Puerto Rico. And then it shows it strengthening after a strike on Puerto Rico going north. This is a Category 2 hurricane, folks, headed into the Bahamas. And while this is no Category 5, this is still going to cause damage and problems. So if we continue to take a look at it, still a Category 2. There you are, winds of 97. This is in the Bahamas, like I said. And this is now looking like it could be taking aim at the U.S. And this is why we have this. This is Jose, and this is another tropical system. 3 hurricanes in the Atlantic at once again. could be occurring. And here we are now with a very scary hurricane looking like it could be headed towards the U.S. with winds of 100 miles an hour. That's high winds, folks. You still need to be aware of that. And remember, this is from the most reliable weather model on this planet. Although it does show a weakening trend with it. So this does show still winds of 100. So we got a 100 mile per hour storm off the coast of the United States. Now this could change. This could go this way straight into the Bahamas and Cuba, or this way, maybe even straight into Bermuda. We don't really know at this point, like I've said. This is a week from today, over a week from today. So there's lots of uncertainty. But if we take a look at the GFS at the same time, it's showing a much similar story. If I zoom in, it's almost the exact same location. Which is very bad news, because that means that this is likely going to be what happens. So yeah, that's bad news for the United States. But we'll have to see what exactly happens there. This is a very, 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 very serious situation. Now back to the more immediate threat. That would be Jose over here. And if I take a look at Jose right now, this is what we're expecting. This Category 1 storm to add up. We can do a tropical storm. New York once again in the cone. Manchester in the cone. Boston in the cone. We've got many big cities in the cone of uncertainty here. So basically, here are the impacts that you're going to get. If this follows the exact center. If I turn on wind radii. We'll get it here shortly. But it'll show you what the impacts we can expect are here in the United States. So yeah, Jose could become a problem. But here we are. So yeah, this system is looking like we're going to have a problem. So if I take a look over here, here's what we're going to get from Jose. If it takes the exact track that the NHC is expecting. You're going to see, this is the tropical storm force wind field, okay? I don't care what those hurricane force winds are. I really don't. Because those aren't going to be very strong. They're not going to be much stronger than the tropical storm force winds. But here's what we're going to be seeing expanding rather rapidly off the coast of New York. We're going to be seeing rather rapid expansion of this. And that's a problem for New York. Because we could see basically all of these cities. I'm going to highlight the coastline that could see tropical storm force winds from Jose, at least at this time. So yeah. Alright, well now that we are about halfway through the show, just over halfway, I would like to now show a proud message from our sponsor. So, that'll be up here very, very shortly. Here we go, just a second. So here, in just a second.
Visit floydglass.com to download your free homeowner's worksheet to understand your options and to learn what is best for your home.
Thinking windows? Think Floyd Glass and Window.
There you go. Bam. Alright. So Floyd's thing is over. And now back to the storm tracker. So here we are. Yeah, sorry for that fail. I'm trying to show that. Here we are now with two other storms. The storm we don't care about, but Norma. Norma is looking like it could be a problem. And here's why. Because as the storm does head up, here's what we're going to see. We're going to see the storm continue and head straight in there. And there you go. But yeah, here we are now with a hurricane. So here's what I guess is the main thing to take away from this. Norma, you need to prepare for it. So if I take a look, here I am. I'm gonna try and pull up the official forecast because, no offense to this software, but it's not doing the greatest job in the world at the moment of showing what I'm wanting it to show. So here we are now with Tropical Storm Norma. Here it is on the, according to the Hurricane Center, this is the track. So we're expecting Hurricane Norma very shortly. It has winds of 70 miles an hour. You can expect very shortly Hurricane Norma. It's going to be headed straight into Mexico. So this would be a problem, and this could cause some problems for Mexico still. So if I can show that, here's what I'll show. I'll show Norma. I'm going to try and get to the tropical floaters, and here is Norma. This is what Norma's looking like right now. This is actually a pretty good-looking storm. I would already consider this a Category 1 hurricane, at least at this point, because of just how good it looks and just how strong the system overall is. The system is going to be continuing this intensification trend for quite a long time until its landfall. You'll be seeing quite a few tropical updates tomorrow on all these storms. But tonight I just decided I'd rather do a live stream. Here is Norma, though. The system is looking pretty good. Rotation is very strong, and you can actually see the rotation in the clouds there. Now, here's something that a lot of people don't notice, unless you have like a watchful eye for it. But you see this counterclockwise flow. You see this counterclockwise rotation. Well, if you notice around Norma, we have a clockwise rotation, which is good because that means that there's a ridge forming around it, meaning that the pressure can deepen and the storm can get stronger. So that's really what that means. Still, though, the storm is a dangerous one. It is one that we can continue to look at as time does go on. The system is continuing its path, though. You can see it's actually impacting that little island right there. So, yeah, that is a problem. I would hope a tropical storm warning is in place for that. I'm not sure if the Hurricane Center did do that, though. Kind of starting to question that. No, it does not look like there are any tropical storm warnings in effect for that. That's unfortunate. So now we're with Jose. Here's Jose's official forecast track, and you can see the 75-mile-per-hour hurricane expected to head up as a hurricane before weakening to a tropical storm on day 5. If we look at the models, there is not a single model that does show this striking the United States, except for this one, which still does not seem to have an overly serious strike. Here's the intensity guidance at this time. The storm is expected to peak as a Category 1 still. Could get up to Category 2. Not likely, but you can see that one model showing a Category 2 hurricane. So that's not out of the question. And then here's something else here. Let me just show you this while I can on this invest. If I take a look at Invest 96L, this is where all the models take it. And most of them do take it north of Puerto Rico, which is good news. But we do have a couple of them that are showing otherwise. You can actually ignore those, though, because they're showing, like, down, up, down, up. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not going to happen. You can also ignore the CEM2 model. So, basically, we're getting a general consensus that this will become a system of worry. And there is the possibility that this could cause some great destruction if, well, I guess you could say misused. Not misused, but you know what I mean. But yeah, here's the intensity again. This could become a tropical storm here any day now. And, the system is very close. And you can see there, Category 5 intensity possible with this storm already. This is already predicted. And that's very scary that we already have storm models predicting a Cat 5. Matthew never had that. They only had Cat 3. Irma didn't even have Cat 3, I don't think, at the beginning. So, showing this rapid intensification of the system is very scary, and tomorrow on my update you will definitely be seeing that a major hurricane strike is possible throughout places like Puerto Rico, which I know were just hammered by Irma, but you need to be watching this very closely because this could be impacting your area here within the next 5 days. A lot can happen over this next few days, and a lot of good, a lot of bad. But it looks like we're going to be having quite a bit of bad going on throughout these next 5 days with all these storms here. Let's actually take a look at Typhoon Talim if we can. I'm going to try and get up to that. That's Dioscuri. But here's Talim. So basically, Talim is rapidly weakening, and this is a problem. So for the Western Pacific, because you can see there, Talim is headed up towards Japan, and that's going to cause some problems for Japan. So if I go to the Talim floater, and we can just take a good look at where exactly this is going and the intensity of the storm, because if I can pull up this enhanced imagery, we can see a much better look at how Talim is looking. So Talim on visible imagery was looking pretty good, but this shows this thing looking awful. This is I'd still consider it tropical, but it's pretty close to a post-tropical cyclone. I mean, there's really not much to say about it. Unfortunately, it just does not look as if there is much that we can do. Alright, well, we are approaching 8:20. I will be back in just 2 minutes. So, yeah. Just a second. But yeah. Like I said, I will be back in a couple of minutes. Alright, I am back and ready for more. So let's get started again. So here is Hurricane Jose. For those that are new, the storm is expected to move along. And up the coast. So here's what we got. We got Hurricane Jose right here. For those that are new watching, we got Jose. We've got let's invest here. Got quite a bit going on too. Let me try and zoom out and get all of it right here. Here, maybe that. Maybe I can get all of it in there. There we go. So here we are. We have Hurricane Jose, which is looking like it's going to go up towards New York. We have Tropical Storm Norma, which is expected to be a hurricane shortly. We've got this tropical depression or tropical storm, whatever the heck it's called. It's going to do nothing. We have this Invest that could become a Category 5 as it heads up here and maybe even strikes Florida again. We have a TD that's a tropical depression that's not really expected to do anything. And then we also do have some things in the Western Pacific to talk about. We also do have this that could develop, and we also do have this plume of thunderstorms here that could have some potential, as well as this plume right here. Depending on what happens, it does look like a Gulf storm could form and strike Florida as well. So without any further ado, let's get started. So we'll go from least concerning to most concerning really quickly here. So here's the least concerning storm. And this tropical system is not really looking very good at this time. Tropical depression currently, Tropical Depression 15, the system is expected to continue to move along and is expected to continue along this path here, becoming a tropical storm and then becoming a full-fledged hurricane here very, very, very shortly. Well, not a hurricane, but a strong tropical storm with winds of up to 45 miles per hour. Nowhere near a full-fledged hurricane, actually. I'm sorry. I was talking about Norma. Sorry, I got the two mixed up. So Norma is a tropical storm that's very shortly going to become a full-fledged hurricane. As this does head up, we can do a tropical storm before being a depression and dying out. Then we do have here Hurricane Jose, currently a Category 1. Good-looking storm, and the storm is expected to head up New York within the cone of uncertainty. Then we do have this tropical depression out here that's expected to become a tropical storm shortly with winds of up to 45 miles an hour. So there you go with that. Then here is the most concerning of them all, at this time at least. And while you may be surprised, at least right now, it is this Invest right here. And you may be like, why? What does Invest have? It isn't every single storm here. Every single one of these storms. Every single one is more powerful than it. So what makes it so worrying and so concerning? First of all, it should be a tropical depression shortly. And second of all, it's expected to head into the Leeward Islands, and I expect we could have a hurricane there. Not a tropical storm, no, a hurricane, a Category 1 hurricane. Yes, a full-fledged hurricane could be headed into here. And as this does happen, this could be a Category 1, 2, or maybe even, God forbid, a Category 3 by then. So if we have a Category 3 here, this could become a Category 5 hurricane overall. And the storm is expected to track in this general direction. Could do something like this. GFS and ECMWF both expecting something a little bit more like this, which would be along Jose's track, but much closer to Puerto Rico and Haiti, and then taking a turn up north. And so that's why this is so concerning. So if I go here and I show you this, here's what we got. We got Jose here, which is going to probably strike New York. I'll show you that real quick. Here's Jose as it heads up. According to the most reliable model on Earth, this is what it says Jose's going to do. And remember, all the yellow is tropical storm force winds here. And there you go. It expects it to take a recurve south. So it's a tropical storm. And then you can see that other storm there. So here, let's take a look at this. Let's go into a perspective of what the winds probably are actually. Because this is currently a Cat 1, so that's winds of 79, 80 miles an hour. So that's just 5 miles an hour off. And this shows us having up to tropical depression, tropical storm force winds, so just 5 miles an hour off as well. Much lower winds with the other wind profile, but this new wind profile does show, I think, a much more accurate representation of what's going to happen. So we have this tropical storm now. Tropical storm. Approaching the Leeward Islands. Here we are now. Winds of 45 miles an hour. This is on the northern side. We still have this being kind of like a tropical wave. And it shows this thing going in and becoming, here it is now. This would be when it would be a tropical storm because you can see now that clear circulation as it's about to head in. So here we are now. Winds of 40 miles an hour. Approaching the leewards. Here we are now. The leeward's getting a tropical storm. A strengthening tropical storm. Now winds of 50, maybe 45? Yeah, winds of 45 miles an hour. If we zoom out just a little bit, there you go. You can see that huge pocket of winds here just strengthening. There you are. That's about 50 to 55 miles per hour. And that is headed towards the leewards. So yeah, up to 52 miles per hour. According to this. So here we are now. We have this tropical storm. And here it goes towards Puerto Rico. Still here, a strong tropical storm. Strong. It's strengthening. It's continuing to strengthen. Now with maximum winds of 54. So it's continuing to get stronger and stronger. But watch here what it does. So it's going to go over Puerto Rico. According to this. And now we're seeing a possible hurricane. Winds of 60 miles per hour, so this could be a hurricane by now. But that's not what this model thinks, and this is the most reliable model on Earth, so. I mean, here you are. And now this is when you can tell this is a hurricane. So if I zoom in on that. There you are, 70 miles an hour or so. So we're pretty close to a hurricane. This is heading towards Puerto Rico. And there we are. We're going to see it go over Puerto Rico. Watch. Now a tropical storm. The entire island of Puerto Rico will be getting tropical storm force winds if this is correct. And as this does head out, this is what we're going to see. We're going to watch it re-strengthen. And now look at the strength of this. We've got a hurricane headed up here with winds of 80 miles an hour. This is the strongest the storm has been, impacting Hispaniola and Haiti. And now it is a very strong storm here. This is at least a Category 2. Winds of 105 miles an hour, folks. That's extremely dangerous. That's extremely dangerous. Those winds. And now imagine this going into the Bahamas. So here we are now. Winds are probably around 105 still, if I had to guess. No, we're down to 100. Still though, a dangerous hurricane. And we're going to watch this dangerous hurricane head up, and here it is. Here's the bad news about this. Both the GFS and the ECMWF show this in a very close spot. Therefore meaning that this kind of scenario is looking like it's going to occur. So unfortunately, that does look like that's going to be what we're going through. Well, I do hope you did like this stream. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Unfortunately, I do have to go right now, so if you do have any questions or comments, type those up quickly. I do not have much more time, but yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye! Alright, I'm just going to stay for a little bit to see if there are any more questions. Any questions? Let's see. Any questions? Does not look like